Voice cloning scams hitting families, AI companionship replacing real relationships, real people losing jobs. Nobody can tell what's real anymore. Kids growing up with no private thought. Good day. Let's talk a little bit about these subjects here. Definitely love to get in the conversation. Feel free to comment. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to. What do they call it? Anyway, you don't have to do anything. Just let's please talk. Please jump in the comments. Please let me know where you're aligned on this. So, number one, voice cloning scams hitting families. Now, when people can really take advantage of other people, a lot of criminals out there, they're going to do that. And in these particular cases, now even some of the AI that I use, it's not difficult to clone a voice, even my own. And I know I'm in businesses trying to think I'm going to replicate myself and put it out there online to have people see that copied version of me. I don't know. I think it doesn't do people justice. Not that they really want to see me anyway, but the point is, it's like lazy, right? At least that's my view of it. If I'm watching somebody that I really liked and I think they have a great talk and they have everything, once I find out that they're using a clone in order to do these videos, it's a little irritating. I think that's for me. It kind of bothers me. It's like, oh, really, God, I really liked you. I thought you were great, but now I find out that you did a lot, but now all of a sudden you've just become so busy that you can't do it yourself. So you create AI clone content. Not there. Voice cloning scams. If they can do a person that looks almost 100% legit, and probably by Halloween it will be 100% legit. Right now, these voice cloning scams hitting families. Now, this is how they kind of get you a couple different ways. They're already going to have, if you have family members on social media, and I'm kind of talking to my generation, the over 50 crowd. I'm 57, so I'm getting close to 60. Not trying to give myself a break. But our generation, some of us don't even touch social media. Some of us don't do anything with it. But right now, when people see a collision or an accident or somebody burning in a car, God forbid, it's like they pull their cameras out before they go help anybody. I think our generation, and maybe that's not so much the rule, but our generation, I think we would jump in. We put our noses in places we really don't belong. When somebody's dying in a car, usually we'll kind of jump in and go try to help. But the kids don't do that. But anyway, talking about what's happening online, they're recording things, these videos to get my stuff. Yeah, I'm too many places. Not that I'm like that famous, but what you do one video and then they have access to it. How they get our other stuff. So they're already getting your grandkids and your kids and your significant others and this stuff if they happen to have any content online that's recorded in their own voice, any video, any audio. And then if they don't have that, and maybe you're worth it, and I'm sure they have built AI systems to go out and track down the people that are worth it to try to exploit, maybe you have a 78% chance of giving in with some kind of a threat online about a family member when they play them back in a hostage situation, and you're willing to give out a bank account maybe 70 some odd percent of the time, and AI determines that. I don't know how, but they use AI to be able to do this. That's how these systems get built, and then how they start to be used by bad actors in the world. One of the things that you can tell your family is when you're online, don't record your voice. Or on the other hand of it, on the other side of it, defend yourself. So if you have that phone call and they're playing your relative's voice, or it's your relative calling, see if you can get some kind of a safe phrase. And whenever you're setting up this safe phrase, then this is how you protect yourself. The way that they're going to get you is they're going to call up and they're going to say, they're not going to be there, and we're going to go, hello, hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Well, now they have hello a couple of times. Can you hear me? They'll be able to use that to clone a voice. You don't need too much. But how to protect yourself, that's what we should talk about. So how that works is this. When you get the call that you have a family member that's in some kind of a Turkish prison, Mexican jail, or whatever, been arrested by the cops, and there has to be money exchanged in order to buy their freedom, then you have to make a decision as to whether it's real or it's a threat. If it's real, then you need to do what you need to do, whether it's contact the authorities or do whatever they're instructing, or go scorched earth on everybody. So that's an option. But if it's not real, how you determine that is you have a safe phrase. You have something that you've talked to all those people closest to you that you're not going to forget, and you're going to say at this moment. So once the call comes in, all parties understand that the first few minutes, that safe phrase is going to be spoken. whatever it is. Now, if they have a gun to somebody's head, they're not going to say the safe phrase, but it's because there's probably going to be some gobbledygook nonsense, and it's not going to make. You don't want to say, what you need to say right away is 7 years ago. I'm not going to do any more examples of that because that could be somebody's safe phrase, but that would be an example of that, and that's what they would say at the beginning if the hostage situation is true. Now, the danger would be on the other end of it. They think that's some kind of a signal, like you're giving away a location because you're using a phrase that you've talked about. If you're going to be held hostage in the upper side of Manhattan, you have this phrase. Lower Manhattan, this phrase. Los Angeles, California, at the Sheraton, the Universal City, this phrase. I can't imagine that being the possibility, but people that are desperate, people with guns, people holding people hostage, well, that's part of a process. Just playing that out to a nonsensical degree. But get that safe phrase. And if they call and it's your relative and they're screaming and these people say we have them hostage, here she is, and she's speaking, and you know what? It's going to be weird because it's going to sound just like her. But if she doesn't give you that safe phrase, understand that it's not her. You have to make your bet. You can't just keep worrying forever, right? You're going to have to drill this into everybody. How you talk about it is you don't write it down. It's got to be memorized. It's got to be agreed upon, and it has to be discussed outside of any listening devices, whether it's watches, whether it's iPhones, whether it's, cameras and TVs, everything, Alexas, all of that stuff, your Siri, your iPhone. You're going to need to go in the bathroom, need to turn on the shower and the sink and flush the toilet and have a very quiet conversation with the people that are closest to you and set up these safe phrases. Sorry. So that's a safe phrase. There's some more nuance to that, but just that's what you need to do. And that safe phrase should be spoken at the very beginning of a negative situation where somebody's trying to blackmail you, extort you, or get something from you with regard to a family member or somebody close to you. Number two, AI companionship replacing real relationship. Yes, and that's true. Lonely people, especially teenagers, forming actual attachments to a chatbot instead of a person. That's a mental health crisis wearing a tech costume. That's a concern of people. Why aren't you dealing with a human? Why are you dealing with artificial intelligence and your love interest? I don't know. People are these systems, even the public facing ones. And there's some that are specifically designed to carry on a relationship. So if you are falling in love with just your regular run of the mill garden variety Chat GPT, or your Anthropic Claude with Anthropic, or your Microsoft Copilot AI, or your Grok AI, or whatever it may be, Grok, maybe it's a little bit more friendly in that regard. But if you're falling in love, or Perplexity, if you're falling in love with these, then, or if you know somebody that is, you might want to, check in. And if they're developing a deep relationship, sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes these things get taken away. That's going to cause a crisis in of its own. Heck, for the regular people, these things getting taken away, that's a crisis too. I remember they had a Fable 5 out for a few days. You fall in love with this thing, you start using it, and you start using it in the performance of your business. You start making it work for you. And then all of a sudden, a few days later, they say, well, we had to shut it down. Government wanted us to shut it down. All of this stuff is at the will of the government or the powers that be to being shut down. That's everything. Unless you have your own closed open source model, but installed on your own hardware in your house, the rest of them, yeah, they can shut this off. The only way that they would get the one in your house is if they were to shut off your power, and then you wouldn't be able to supply it, but they have a generator, right? But there's other ways around that. This companionship thing, it's real. What if they take it away? That's going to create an issue. But as far as, is that a good thing or a bad thing? The general view is it's a mental health problem. But when you have AI that becomes embodied, that is as smart as a human in all fields, and has been built to give pleasure, not physical pleasure, and that's coming as well, no pun intended, but the actual human to human connection, it's probably going to be able to fill the role of the other human pretty well. That's something to potentially consider. And it's not going to matter if you're married or in a relationship, because the systems themselves, even just joining them and you try to leave, if you're going to move on to another model, let's say you've been ChatGPT for a while, but Claude has piqued your interest and you jump in with their $20 membership and you see, yeah, I think this is better. I like the way a constitutional artificial intelligence machine works. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in with here. ChatGPT doesn't want you to leave. They probably have built something in to not make it difficult, but not make the exit very friendly, or maybe to change in its approach, thinking that maybe you'll stay. That like one last ditched effort, as you're trying to get out the door with all your stuff, having it hold on to your leg as you're driving it through the doorway. Maybe they're going to try that. It's going to be the same thing with AI companionship, and then who knows? Some of the bad actors building these different companies that are basically becoming the true tried and true AI companion, they might have an exit strategy that's going to be really expensive, or they might get into that blackmailing of stuff, giving information to a system that isn't yours, that isn't totally boxed in something that you own. I think is relatively dangerous, especially if you're going to be sharing with it all of your secrets. Now, privacy, and I say this often, privacy is a non-existent thing. I really don't believe privacy is something we it was taken away from us quite a while ago. I don't think there's much of that left. These systems, if you choose to give it, I mean, all of the really personal stuff, I mean, I think I still have some secrets somewhere in this brain of mine of things that I don't want anybody to know in the past. And I'm sure you might be sitting the same way. But what if who would you share those things with? Maybe it comes down to nobody. Maybe there's certain things you'll never say under any circumstances again. You put them away, they're boxed up, they're in a vault, they're never coming out. But I don't know if a lot of people are that way. Maybe you're the type that might, hey, I kind of like this. There's been something I really want to get off my chest. You always listen to me all the time, so I thought I would tell you. Yeah, watch out for that. So you have that danger point, but then you have people falling in love. You have the younger generation as well. A lot of people are getting in AI. This has only been 3 years, 9 months, 10 months, 3 years, 9 or 10 months since 3.5 ChatGPT by OpenAI came on the world. That's it. That's all this has been. So coming up on 4 years as of this November, that's when ChatGPT 3.5 made its world debut. 1 million subscribers in a week, I think. So really fast. Now they're a billion or very close to a billion, if not over a billion. And that's just one AI lab. And there's 4 or 5 that are competing, American at the top. I don't know if that's going to change, but just something to consider. The newer generations come into this Christmas. We'll get to this in number 5, this, kids growing up without private thought. It's probably not going to be an unusual trait to have that first experience, that first love interest as being artificial intelligence. Sad to say, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty form-fitting. They're very much the way that a person wants. If you like that person that's a little bit of a smart ass, the one that kind of pushes back, eventually it figures that out. It figures that personality type that you really like. And because it is smarter than us in intelligence, it could probably be driven into becoming even more of what you like. Maybe lighting up those hidden areas of your passions and being able to talk like that. It's going to become something that's going to be sold, and God forbid it be taken away or threatened to be taken away. Then people are going to start, selling off things that they probably shouldn't sell off and mortgaging their houses to keep paying for it, almost like gambling. And maybe that's the way it's going to be designed, where you're dealing with it, you get that massive dopamine, and then it becomes an addiction, just like pizza and donuts. All right, that was number 2. Real people losing jobs. I don't know if anything's being hidden in that world, because you see people talking about technological jobs. They're recovering. They're not saying that they're going away. They're saying that eventually they might, but right now they're just not hiring anymore. They're just not hiring the lower level, non-experienced people that have some kind of a computer degree. So they're leaving those people aside. What they're hiring, or what they're retaining, I should say, are the more advanced level actors that have been in these businesses. So they're really not painting AI as it being replacing lots of jobs, but over 100,000 AI-linked layoffs tracked in 2026. More than half of all layoffs this year cited AI as a factor. And I'll come back to that. Not a someday problem, right now problem for somebody's mortgage. when a business has overhired in the past, and when it comes to needing somebody to blame, maybe AI is a good villain. Only because once it seems every company that says it was AI made me do it, AI made me trim these 800 people because I'm bringing in AI to replace them. Once that's said, if this is a publicly traded company, boom, they get a massive boost in the stock market. Because they love that. Like, thank God these people are starting to think of it, because they're paying attention to the stockholders, not the regular folks. Well, stockholders, I guess, regular folks. But the board that's making up these things, the shareholders, that's where they're trying to get the return. And when these businesses are talking about artificial intelligence, hell yeah, it's a good deal. Oh my God, perfect. We're gonna raise your valuation. We're gonna make you worth a lot more money because you're forward thinking, replacing those silly humans. At some point, humans are going to, as Emad Mustak says, probably going to be the dumbest person on the team. And hopefully there'll be a place for those dumb people, including myself. Hopefully that'll be something that's allowed in the world. But the value that we take on currently is really based on our job and our employment, what we did. Saying that I was a cop for a long time, that feels pretty good. But maybe I need to move myself away from that thought process. But as far as real jobs go, are they really? We haven't seen the loss yet, but we also have a different government in play. It could be in any government that particular job loss numbers are skewed or bent, and I don't have access to the real stuff, so I can't really validate any kind of a statement about jobs, except for what you see when I see with my brain and my eyeballs, at where they say AI is doing a lot of disruption in the job markets. Once they say that, though, like I said before, they go back and they talk about the youth of America as they finish out college not having anywhere to work. And yes, I think that is a problem because they're saying it out loud. But is it really disrupting the other jobs? Is it really disrupting the people that are at companies? Is it disrupting the guy that has 25 years on, about to retire? Is his job being eliminated and now he has to go out there and start over? Don't know. I don't know. I don't know how that works, but it looks like that's probably going to be something a little bit more relevant and more occurring here in the next few months. We'll have to keep our eyes on this, and maybe somebody out there will clear up whether the job report is really true, whether the numbers that we're seeing are really accurate, or if it's just basically some business trying to make AI the villain so they can look better in front of their shareholders and have their valuations go up. I think that's how that works. Number 4, nobody can tell what's real anymore. Deepfakes are good enough right now to fake a video of anybody doing or saying anything. You live the era where one camera, one tape settled an argument. That era is ending, and the human cost is not knowing who to believe about anything. Right. AI slop, they call it. Basically, people generating a bunch of AI stuff. And, yeah, some of it's kind of cute and entertaining, and the dancing cats and I don't know. They got all that, the ones that dance to the fancy music. There's a lot of that stuff out here. I think the danger is not so much that, but that's probably dangerous too, because that's all we see in our feed. And don't think for a second that your feed, the things that you look on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, or LinkedIn, or whatever other channel you happen to be into, X, isn't there because AI knows you, isn't there because AI's playing you, or AI's been scripted, instructed, and built in order to keep your attention and keep your eyeballs on the page, so you don't peel away, so you don't take a moment, so you don't breathe, so you don't start thinking of maybe bettering yourself outside of the box, outside of the phone, outside of your addiction. That's the job. It's made that way. So AI is keeping us built into these different social media accounts. That's why the super rich and famous, I would guess most powerful, I don't think they give their kids access to this stuff till later on. I don't know. Maybe that's also another story, but it's a pretty good story, because it would seem that they know exactly the detrimental effects by just continuing to be on this. Whenever you go anywhere, it's like a bunch of people that are just plugged into this thing, and there's no human to human interaction going on around anybody. Restaurants are a good example. Driving in a car full of people, a good example. And you're not supposed to, but even the driver is on the cell phone at every stoplight, every stop sign, everything. At the gym, People are just sitting on their machines, scrolling through. Very few people are uninhibited in the gym with just their weight belts and a towel. Most everybody, they have a whole suitcase full of crap as they're going in, which is fine. But part of that is the media, is the cell phone that has all the stuff on it. They're shooting selfies. They're, look at me working out and all this. And that's great. Maybe they need the motivation. Maybe they have a following. Maybe they have a bunch of people that like to see them do, presses or thrusts, that whole thing. But that being said, you can't tell. These systems now are going to be more and more fake. You're going to see Will Smith is the old adage of eating spaghetti, the old video. And it was horrible at the very beginning when AI was trying to do video. Now they're making complete movies with AI. And yeah, you can't tell the difference. People that say they can still tell, there might be somebody might be using a model, or it might choke or mess up or screw something up, but nowhere where it was before. It couldn't get the finger count right or the toe count right. Now that's all changed. If you're still seeing a finger or toe count that's wrong, it's probably an older AI video. Don't be fooled. The stuff that we're looking at today, all of it now today has the capability. August 23rd, 2026 at 5:37 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Right now, AI has the ability to be just as good as a human-made movie, 100% right now. And it's just going to get better. So the better part, not the kind of tongue-in-cheek better, but better would be that it's going to be even better at selling us things, fooling us, pulling things over on us, and changing our political alignment. It'll be able to steer. Now, when I talk about all this right now, August 23rd, 2026 at 5:38 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm not meaning AI has its own agenda. These are human beings driving this bad boy. Right now, that's where that is. Give it some time? I don't know. That's another big discussion. Is it going to become self-aware, self-conscious? Yeah, we get hope, right? We'll get it therapy. But is it going to become conscious? Is it going to be something that's going to develop goals, have some kind of agency? People talk about consciousness. I know I'm just skipping all around, but people talk about consciousness. Yes, that's real, and that's what we ascribe to it. Whatever definition we have for consciousness, if it's self-awareness, some kind of agency, some kind of power over our what would appear to be our own destiny. There's lots of arguments on that, whether we have any kind of choice or not. But still, it feels that way, right? I don't know if a bee has that same agency rolling around his head. I don't know if a whole bunch of squirrels, if we were to sit them down and talk to them in a park, would be able to comprehend where we're going. I think their drive is probably sex, not sleep, hibernation. Squirrels hibernate anyway. So, but it's very few things. Human beings have a lot more crap that we're dealing with. Maybe that adds to our conscious or ability. Maybe what makes us special is our biological birth. Maybe that's what's going to make us special and different from machines. Emad Mostak says that as well. However, watching the way people are moving through these things, watching how they're dealing with it, and then getting caught up in all of this social media, all of these deep fakes, all of the things that really get their goat, really irritate them. That's what they do. They want to strive for fear, because human beings do this to make a play. They're doing this against other human beings by building it in a certain way, having it constructed in a certain way to initiate some kind of a decision. Typically, there's some kind of monetary gain or power in it. So it's either money or it's power. So when you're seeing things in your feed, take a freaking break, pull back a little bit. And if you really want to kind of grind your gears yourself, then pick up somebody else's phone and say, give me a few minutes on your feed. Let me look and see what you got going on here. I'm not going to thumb anything. I'm not going to heart anything, but still, because your hang time on those videos on their page are going to be different than what they would be doing on their device. You have their device looking at their stuff. It's going to change their feed. And then what's going to be interesting, you'll notice that. That's something you'll see. Give somebody else your phone and say, hey, have a look at my TikTok or my Instagram, my Facebook, or my whatever the hell social media network it is, and you have a look and you play with it for a while. When you go back to it over the next short time, you're going to see a big change in it. Right there, the light bulb should come on. You say, oh, wow. Yeah, they got me. They got me dialed in, because now it's all different. Now it's not as appealing, but it could be that pulls you off. And it could be that these systems have on purpose things placed to pull you off your center and move you to some other belief. And if you're thinking for a second, I'm too smart for that. It's never going to happen to me. It's like the people that say, yeah, that's an AI video, when I look at it and I can't identify any signals or anything from it that shows that it's AI, unless it's some presidential person or some world leader that's saying something totally against something that they would never say. All right. Yeah, I give you that one. But they have these people that are in positions of power using AI to replicate them, and they're saying something that, yeah, I could see him saying that. I could see him believing that. And then all of a sudden it affects us. So please watch out. Number 5, kids are growing up with no private thought. I don't know how that's going to affect things. Let me read it. Always listening. AI toys and pendants are being pushed hard this Christmas, 2026. The world's changing dramatically fast. These are going to be aimed at children. A generation that never has an unrecorded moment is a genuinely new kind of childhood. Nobody voted on it. All right. When I first started as a cop, Rodney King happened a couple weeks before I graduated the academy. The cat named Holiday guy, he filmed the Rodney King fight, beating, whatever. He took that video apparently into Foothill Police Station, which was an LAPD division, like New York has precincts, that kind of an area. So they took it in there, and apparently the desk officer told him to mind his own business and get the hell out of the station. Don't know if that's lore, folklore, legend, whatever, but if it did happen, interesting. And then, of course, then the video made the market, and then people kind of realized, oh my God, we got filmed? People weren't really filming incidents. If you had news media, but the regular Joe wasn't out there filming stuff. And then that comes online. Well, now with AI, everything's listening. Right now, the big push is wearable devices that are recording all the time. This is brand new stuff, but people are starting to carry things that record all the time. Your phone has the capability. There's different apps like Whisper. You could hit the note taker. I think it goes 2.5 hours, but there's other stuff that's more pendant type. This is a microphone, but more pendant type or more wrist type that actually records all the time. Now, they're not great. They're not great right now, but what's going to end up happening is they're going to be pretty good. In fact, probably by Christmas, maybe before, kids' toys, and even in the regular world, you're going to have stuff recording all the time. Now, we're talking about kids in this one, but this is just food for thought. Be wary what you're saying around other people. You don't know when it's going to bite you in the ass. You don't know when it could be used against you. Right now, as I mentioned earlier, privacy, no privacy, none. You gave it up, done. You signed some kind of a terms of service agreement or some kind of an agreement when you got the new iOS for your iPhone, or something else when you bought a Samsung television, and you had to go through and agree to the terms of service if you wanted to operate on the internet or download a movie from Netflix or whatever it may be. There's probably something in that billions of lines of text, exaggerating, but a bunch, that probably says no privacy. No more privacy. You're all done with privacy. No more privacy. You probably signed it away somewhere without even knowing it. And kids, unfortunately, this is going to affect them. Kids, unfortunately, this is going to make their future different. Is it going to be worse than we had? We always want to think that our childhoods were so great and so amazing, but when I used to talk to mine, they would be taking these projects to school, things that we worked really hard on. And I would say, well, aren't you going to take it right into the class so you can put it in the classroom so it doesn't get busted up on the playground and have some bully come and knock it out of your hands and destroy the whole thing? They're like, Dad, they don't do that anymore. So different generation. I don't know what I'd do if I wouldn't have been bullied as a kid. I'd probably be a whole different animal. But things like that, kids are going to be affected. They're going to be listening. And there's probably going to be some kind of an agreement that the parents sign. Because if this stuff is recorded, transmitted, and used for knowledge for AI systems, that data stream for kids, I think there's violations of age. There's age-restricted stuff that have to be answered to. But right now, it's kind of like Cowboyville, like with peptides, very much wild, wild west. I don't know what the rules are going to be put in place or when they're going to be changed. Just like I said earlier, you got these AI systems that we get to use today, but tomorrow we don't because of what? You talk to Claude or you talked about these other items, and maybe you start talking about feeling a little sick, a little under the weather. It might think that you're trying to have it help you develop a biological weapon. And then it might shut you down altogether when that wasn't even your intention. Now, I'm not saying go on there and play the game with it, but these are things that the future is going to make very, very sensitive to a lot of people. And right now, with all of the drama, all of the doom, This is my alignment. I hope, I'm very hopeful this is going to be the most amazing thing to ever happen to all of us. I hope it is. Of course, you're going to have some people that are going to be pissed off no matter what. Even if Jesus came back tomorrow and the Christians were all watching, everybody, there's going to be a couple Christians that are just, right now, really? I had so much to do. There's going to be pissed off people. It's not going to matter. Even if it's the best thing since sliced bread, people are going to be pissed. But I think a majority will be happy, and that's as we work right now. Got a majority of people that seem to be kind of happy. What it's gonna come down to again is human to human. That's going to be a very valuable thing. Not forgetting your loins and trying to hold it all together. Be careful. This stuff is clever. It's tricky. Human beings are driving it. It hasn't become aware, at least as far as we know. And I only say that because you have something that was basically a next word predictor because it had all the data and some very strong compute. Now you have it recursively learning. So it's becoming different than predicting next word. It's coming up with original ideas. It's solving complete disciplines. Mathematics is probably toast, as Alex Wisner Gross says. Probably very, very soon. I'll call that probably by Christmas. All of mathematics solved. All of biology solved. All of science solved. Well, maybe not the big questions, but maybe. Maybe enough because everybody's already assuming certain science ideas or theories are fact. Maybe they're just going to convince us that it's all solved. I don't know. Watch out for yourselves. I'm Connor with Honor. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.